I talk about hundreds of different credit cards on this YouTube channel. However, have you ever wondered what I'm actually using at the current time in my own wallet? I want to run through a few different things in this video with you. I'm going to unpack my wallet and share the cards that I currently have, of course, and what my kind of optimization strategy is for the setup that I'm using in 2024. I'll be transparent and show you where the money's flowing out in my current spending patterns and which cards I'm using to address those different categories. I also want to talk about the wins and losses of this setup, the strengths that you'll see from assembling the cards like I have, but also be honest about the weaknesses and problems that I'm experiencing holding my current lineup. Finally, I'll talk to you about where I see the best cards being right now in 2024 to potentially add and what to look out for in the upcoming months. Let me talk through the 4 cards that I have in use in the middle of 2024. Now, here's a quick disclaimer. I technically use 6 cards. There are 2 that I'm not going to be including in this What's in My Wallet breakdown. The first one being my business expense card. I run this YouTube channel as my business. I also work a 9-to-5 job, and the YouTube channel doesn't have a ton of expenses that are accumulating a bunch of spend and charges, so there's not a lot of point talking about that card. I also have a Fidelity 2% cashback Visa card that does accumulate a few charges a month. That's my longest card open, coming up on 10 years, so I always keep that active with just a few charges, but it's not really in my regular spending routine, so it's not going to get a breakdown in the strategy behind it in this video. The cards in my wallet, starting from my favorite right now to my least favorite, begin with the Capital One Venture X. On this card, I earn 10x back on hotels and rental cars through Capital One, 5x back on flights booked again through Capital One, and 2x back on everything else. I have next the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which earns 5x back on hotels and rental cars when purchased through Chase, 3x back on dining, streaming, and online grocery, 2x back on all travel purchases, and then a flat 1x on everything else. I also have added the Chase Freedom Flex over the past few months. That earns 5% back on travel through Chase, 3% on dining at restaurants, and 3% on drugstores, and 5% in rotating categories, which for the past quarter had been Amazon.com, hotel bookings, and restaurants. Finally, I have the Discover It cashback credit card, which earns 5% back on rotating categories. For the past quarter, that had been gas stations and EV charging, home improvement stores, public transit, and then the card earns a flat 1% back cash back on everything else. To see how these cards play out in real life for me, I'm going to show you my real spending numbers in an optimized spending chart, listing my greatest expenses at the top, going down to my 6th biggest category, which is gas, at the bottom. And these are averages over the past 3 months and the cards that I've deployed to meet those spending categories. At a very, very high level, I've intentionally tried to simplify this strategy, but also optimize it at the same time. At this point, I'm pretty much getting a 3x or 3% return back on every single dollar I spend, and that may not just be from the multipliers, but also how those points then get redeemed on the back end. So as you saw, I'm pairing 2 travel cards, a basic travel card and a semi-premium travel card, with 2 complimentary cards to make that happen. The Capital One Venture X rewards card for me operates as my catch-all card here in this setup, and this thing with my diversified categories, as you see, it racks up miles like an absolute beast. Next up is, of course, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the first travel credit card that I got. Still a super valuable asset in this setup, but this card really has not been used as much because of the introduction of the Chase Freedom Flex, which with its rotating quarterly categories having the dining spend at 5%, has kind of nullified this card for no regular purchases except for streaming services still get applied. However, that does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that it's useless. In fact, I've done my biggest aspirational travel redemption on this card this quarter, and we'll talk about that in where the big wins in this setup are. Up next, and getting a bunch of fairly heavy use, is the Chase Freedom Flex. Now, this card was born out of necessity and added into this setup because of some of the weaknesses on the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This is a great card, but it just does not rack up points very quickly. So I decided to introduce the 5% rotating quarterly categories that the Freedom Flex offers. Now that's been working out pretty well, especially in the last quarter. This has been the category of restaurant spend on the Freedom Flex. So that actually earns stacking bonus categories. And how that's worked out for me is it earns 4% bonus points for the rotating category in restaurants, 2% elevated spend category regardless for points at restaurants, and then 1% base points. So every single time I've eaten out at something that's been categorized as dining or a restaurant, I've actually earned 7% back thanks to the Freedom Flex. Now that's going away headed into Q3 of 2024, but it's just such a valuable card, especially when those key rotating categories come around. Also, it felt like a windfall this month because Amazon.com was another key rotating category. And if you noticed on the optimized spending chart, my wife and I spend really heavily on Amazon.com, and we're just racking up the points with the Freedom Flex. So that's great to add to the Chase Ultimate Rewards point bank. And last but not least, the Discover It got pulled out every single time my wife or I bought gas. That was our 6th most valuable spending category, so it did get a fair amount of use in this 4-card setup. Now, this is the perfect time to introduce today's video sponsor, which is Kudos. Now, I will encourage anybody watching this video to consider Kudos to help them optimize their own setup, as well as double their credit card rewards when shopping online. Kudos is a free, AI-powered wallet that helps you earn more cash back, more points, and seamlessly expedite the checkout process. With Kudos Boost, you take the regular credit card rewards that you earn, like with the Venture X when shopping online, and at Kudos partner merchants, activating the Kudos Boost will double those rewards effectively for you upon checkout. It's the best of both worlds. Kudos will suggest the very best card for you from your wallet. You'll plug it in at checkout, and then you'll earn Kudos rewards as well as the regular credit card rewards that you're already getting on your purchases. If you're into the credit card space, I'm sure you've heard of Kudos. And Kudos has partnered to give the viewers of my channel a special welcome offer. When you use the link down below in the description and code guarantee at signup, you're going to earn an eligible boost worth $20 with your first purchase using a Kudos partner merchant. A big thanks to Kudos for sponsoring this video and helping me keep my own wallet organized. So now that you understand the setup that I'm working with, I want to talk about where this setup is just awesome and where it's kind of tough sometimes and hard to deal with. The first thing that I absolutely love, and I think this appeals to a ton of people that watch my videos, is the sustainability. For me, it's all about keeping things in line. I don't like to go too heavy into one end or too light in the other end. And this really is a comfortable setup for sustainability for the effective annual fees. I have the $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred and the $395 Capital One Venture X. However, those fees really melt away when you look at how I actually use them. With the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I've already used the $50 comped hotel credit, as well as 2 $15 Instacart credits to pick up things like coffee and protein shakes for completely free. Between those 2 credits, the effective annual fee is down to $15 on the year for this card, and it is a no-brainer to continue holding considering the value I've got in some of the redemptions myself. Now, the Capital One Venture X is one of the most straightforward get it and hold it cards in the game. This has a $300 travel credit, which is very easy to use. I've already taken advantage of almost all of that credit at this point in the year. And at my card member anniversary, I will get 10,000 miles added into my account, which is effectively worth $100 in travel at a bare minimum. Between those two, Capital One is paying you to keep this card, and I will gladly earn my 2x miles back as my catch-all card for an effective annual fee of plus $5. The second win is inside this Chase setup right here, mostly thanks to the Sapphire Preferred card that I have in aspirational travel booking. I will make a bigger video about this later, but the big travel redemption was taking almost the entire sign-up bonus plus additional spend from the Sapphire Preferred, transferring out to the World of Hyatt Rewards program, and redeeming 84,000 points for 4 free nights at the all-inclusive Secrets Vallarta Bay in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is going to be an incredible value redemption on the ultimate rewards points that I've accumulated so far. And the last win has been the lounge access, again brought to you by the Venture X. Now, I made a video about a recent stop in Denver and reviewed the Capital One Denver Lounge, which is the newest lounge in the Capital One lineup. On the way to that Mexico trip, we'll be stopping in the Dallas-Fort Worth Capital One Lounge and checking that out, so maybe more to come there. But the Capital One Lounge access overall has been a positive booster of the experiences of my personal trips, and I can't wait to share it with my Player 2, my wife, here upcoming this summer. Let's talk about some real struggles. First of all, on the Venture X, I'm accumulating a ton of miles, over 100,000 at this point, but I don't really have any great redemption outlets for it yet. As you guys probably know, the Venture X really struggles with easy to use domestic transfer partners to get good value, and I'm kind of sitting on all of these miles without a good place to burn them. The second big struggle that I didn't really see coming was navigating these two 5% cashback cards in the same quarter. I thought this would be an incredible way to just rake in points, optimize spending. The categories haven't really overlapped, so I thought this would just be great. But it's actually a lot sloppier than you'd think. Quite often, I see myself going back in my credit card statements and missing an opportunity to take advantage of a rotating category. And then I also have to get my authorized user and my wife on board and following this to a T as well. There's just a lot more slippage and mistakes than you'd think. It's a little bit more difficult to track than on the surface you would believe. So what is next with the setup? What are the best cards out there right now? Well, the first thing I'm really looking at right now is adding an airline card to the lineup. I'm looking for something sustainable. Like you guys know, I really want to keep the annual fees at something I'll always get positive value from year in and year out without actually having to try that hard. The Delta SkyMiles Platinum card from American Express is something that is at the top of my list. I'm really kind of itching looking at the card to get started on the 1 year of holding it so I can get one free flight a year with a companion, which would be my wife. I really see easy value in that card to take advantage of. The next opportunity I'm looking at is really considering investing in a big time business credit card. Now, I don't have a ton of spend with this YouTube channel, but obviously if I can hit a business credit card sign-up bonus, elevated bonuses on some of those cards compared to the personal cards out there can really make it worth it. So if you guys are watching and really have seen a business credit card that you like or has provided a ton of value back to you, let me know in the comments, because that is something that I'm really keen on figuring out personally for my own setup. Overall, I just wanted to update you with where I'm at right now. Hopefully you see what's gone well and what's really hurt in this setup and can use it to make your own a little bit better with the cards that you're considering in your own life. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.